So I guess I I just I was just released from the hospital on Monday, but so I'm a little bit fuzzy on what our agenda is here. I know Piper said that we were going to talk about physical security as a service and our panic button solution. So can somebody just give me an overlay of the audience that I'm talking to, please?
Well, the audience is a general technology audience. We have everything from VP director level to technician level individuals who are interested in learning about your technology. So we can talk about the security elements of it. You also have something that's interesting to me, I believe, which is your 5G, your kind of your Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi, your 5G networks for business too, right? Is that another
Yeah,
one of your products? So maybe
yes.
we can, if you can give us an overview on both of those, that would be interesting.
All right.
And we can just do it from a high level if you want, but we've had a couple of different similar security products that we've done on the broadcast or on the show here. Um, but I think that you guys have a little bit of a different approach to that. Um, and then again, I do have customers and people who have an interest in um, other channel connectivity. So in other words, not coming through the same internet pipe. So
No, absolutely. We'll just touch high level on everything, right?
yeah,
So if you could, somebody has the screen sharing disabled. I have a presentation that I'll
yep,
share.
you got it. It's open now.
Okay. All right, thank you. Um,
Well, wherever you are, it looks like it's a nice day.
yeah, I'm actually just outside of Boston.
Oh, nice.
I I'll be honest with you. My significant other, she's the president of the print industry of New England, and every year they have a sponsored barbecue picnic for their members and for all the printers of New England to come and enjoy a day of just communicating, talking, and eating. Right.
Nice.
So I always sponsor the event so that you know I get a little exposure, For2Fi gets a little exposure, and always help the significant other is always a good thing as well,
Yeah,
right?
I
So
hear you.
uh, let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
So really, For2Fi is a wireless aggregator. And what that really means is that we manage a relationship at the carrier level so that the customer doesn't have to go to Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile to talk to them about 4G or 5G network, right? Because we all know that 4G and 5G is becoming a more and more valid backup solution as well as a primary internet connection, right? I've got a Cradlepoint in Boston that's pulling 200 meg down by 120 meg up, right? So any doctor's office, any mid-sized business can run their business off that application. Um, we just closed a failover solution for a large company that everybody here probably will recognize called Domino's. We did 387 of their corporate stores, and they're putting Cradle Points in every single one of their stores as a simple backup solution to the broadband connection so that they never have to not be able to take credit cards, right? So the owners of our company is Andrew Gregoire and John Reed. Um, these two gentlemen were agents in the business, and they started this company about 6 years ago behind the premise that one of their customers was Planet Fitness, and Planet Fitness was looking for a wireless application that would be a failover solution in their stores, would be able to transport a lot of corporate data back to the corporate headquarters. And they wanted it as a complete diverse failover to any sort of broadband or fiber simply because they wanted a different type of entry point into their stores, right? Well, they went out to Core Wireless. They went out to several of the Sierra Wireless. They couldn't find the solution they wanted. Contracts were either too long, too complicated for Planet Fitness, and they said, "Why don't we just build a company?" So they sold their piece of their agent business and invested it all into building For2Fi. And I'm vice president of channel sales here at For2Fi. We have several different large masters that we work with. So my job is to educate our partners and help our partners close business. So from a 4G and 5G perspective, everything we do is month to month, right? Um, our high capacity data plans, which really fit well for customers that are looking for a stopgap internet connection. Day one, when Comcast or Spectrum or somebody says to them, "Hey, listen, we're having an issue with the build out. We're going to be another month before we can get your internet there." How many people on this call have had that actually happen to them? Sure, a couple have, right?
Yep.
So we can have a circuit up for the customer next day if they need it. You know, on 4G, probably 35, 40 meg down, 20, 25 meg up. It'll suffice. It'll get their operations up and running. It'll get their, you know, their equipment up and on network, and, you know, it'll get them through their inspections for voice and for internet connectivity, right? And then the our core business really has become our failover solution. Like I mentioned, you know, last month we had 2 orders that were in excess of uh, in excess of 540 Cradlepoints that went out for just 2 companies that were doing backup internet connections for, right? Domino's and IHOP. I don't know if any of you have ever eaten at IHOP, but
I've been
so
known to join in at IHOP from time to time.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we did,
Also Domino's too. I probably have
yeah.
frequent flyer miles from Domino's.
So we have we did a restaurant group down in Florida, and they had 140 Domino's. They're going to do 30 or 40 Sonny's Real Pit barbecues today, and then we did the Domino's deal last month. So backup is really a big piece of our business. But again, I don't want to scare you away, because we do a C-band solution with Verizon where we can do a 5G connection with unlimited data on that, right? Now, the only challenge we see with our high capacity data plans is sometimes those data plans can be capped on speed, or sometimes getting a, you know, a static IP when necessary can be a challenge. Verizon's C-band unlimited data is capped at 200 meg down, 20 meg up. Their standard 5G ultra wideband is capped at 50 meg down, 20 meg up. And we don't control those caps, right? We don't really see a lot of capping on AT&T or T-Mobile. So, and again, all these data plans and Cradlepoints are month to month for your customers. So if they need that stopgap, we can provide it. If they say, well, hey, listen, this worked really good, let's just downsize the data plan and plug it into WAN port 2 on the firewall or the SD-WAN box. It can then become their failover, or in some cases, we even quote tertiary connections with 4G, because it's becoming more and more evident that customers want that diverse path into their building, because we all know that typically broadband and fiber can come into the same point of entry to a building. So really, is it a redundancy if the telephone pole or the conduit gets cut, right? So I'll stop right there and see if anybody has any questions about our 4G, 5G.
Anybody from the attending group have any questions? If not, I have questions, but yeah, does anybody else have questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Rick, you guys are carrier agnostic? You can go across all 3 carriers, and do you have to have a specific SIM card in the device? You have to call your carrier shop before you put it in, or how does that work?
So that's a really, really good question. So we are a Cradlepoint Platinum provider. So really the only devices we use out there are Cradlepoints. And so the Cradlepoint has dual SIM technology. I can put a Verizon and AT&T SIM in there. We are carrier agnostic. The cool thing about what we do, and just for an example, the Verizon, the Domino's deal that we just did, we knew that, and what really won this for us is we're able to pool that data plan across all the carriers, right? Like we knew that about 50% of the stores had run on AT&T, 30 on, you know, Verizon, a few on T-Mobile. Well, we built them out a 1 gigabit data plan at every one of their locations, and then we just pooled across all carriers, so it doesn't matter to us what carrier they're on. And
So
then
go ahead. Sorry.
no, and then we provide data usage alerts in the Cradlepoint. So the customer always knows what carrier they're on. They know what data plan they're running on, and they know where they are in their monthly data plan so that they don't get surprise bills for overage. Because I can tell you that everybody that deals in 4G, 5G, their biggest concern is what's going to happen if I go over my data plan, right? I mean, so
Right. So the billing, so the actual billing for the service comes through your organization. You don't have to maintain a relationship with yet another carrier. It all comes through you.
exactly. We manage, like I said earlier, we manage that relationship at the carrier level so that the customer doesn't have to worry about that, right?
Right. Now let me ask you this question. So if that were to be used as a backup plan or even an alternate data path, um, do all of those wonderful bits that go through that internet connection travel through your data center somehow? Or I'm assuming they're not funneled that way, but I wanted to ask the question.
So they don't travel through our data center. We don't own a data center. They're these all this data travels on the network carrier. Like like if we identify Verizon as your primary carrier, then it all travels on the Verizon network. None of it travels on For2Fi's network. We're an aggregate.
Right. I mean, so the reason I asked that question is having had some SD-WAN experience, when you go with the SD-WAN, it usually funnels it into a data center someplace. So I wanted to ask that question to see if there's any choke points there that we need to be aware of.
No, absolutely not. So they're really, all that data we just aggregate.
One of the items that I have a question about is maybe a little bit vertical specific, but what about using this technology in, what I would describe as a construction field, maybe in areas that are classically underserved by terrestrial internet services? What about those types of applications? Are you in that space?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a construction company called Sierra Construction. Every time they open up a new construction, project, they send us an email, send us a Cradlepoint. They get a MIMO high gain antenna. We send out professional installation, and they install the Cradlepoint. They put an antenna on top of the construction trailer. They run Ethernet into their network, and then the Cradlepoint also has Wi-Fi. So any GCs or anybody that's coming into the construction trailer has that ability to connect to the internet connection. We got Mattamy Homes out of Florida who does a ton of home construction. Every time they open up a new model, right? So it's an absolute perfect vertical for us.
Interesting. Um, Yeah, I mean, I have customers who are actually myself. I have customers who are in an energy vertical, and they have need for connectivity. Do you have ability to monitor? Does your environment monitor, or is that something that you would suggest they do as a third party? So uptime, downtime, those types of things, or up down status, those types of things, monitor and alert, or is that something that you would recommend a person use a third party for?
No, absolutely. So we're able to provide network monitoring, data usage alerts, and reports. Um, Also, in many cases, we'll build an NCM group, Net Cloud Manager group, for your customer and allow them to have access to monitor and manage their own cradle.
Oh, so you kind of have a multi-tenant environment, so a customer can get in and see their own environment
Yes,
on your network. Okay, like a
yes,
portal.
yeah. It's called Net Cloud
Very
Manager.
nice.
Um, I, I, I'm not prepared to
Yeah,
actually
no, that's
log
fine.
in there. Um, I have to tell you, I've been having some serious laptop technology issues today as it is. So I don't
Yeah,
want
well, I mean, it is actually pretty impressive that you're doing it from outside in an ad hoc way. So I mean, that is pretty good. Do you have? I
to.
didn't mean to.
Here's what
Oh,
I'm running on.
oh,
This is what I'm
nice.
running on. The
That's what you're
Cradle,
running on right now.
it is right now.
That that's awesome. It's actually a pretty good testament to the technology.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. That's why when I go to these events, I always have my Cradle Point. People will come
Well,
up, what's the speed on it? We can run speed tests. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, I don't want to interrupt if you had more slides you wanted to go through. I mean, I could
Yeah,
talk about this all day, but let's keep going through your slides.
yeah, and 5G availability, right? There's such a huge marketing campaign around 5G. I will tell you guys that 5G is not there. It's available. We can get it, but it's not nearly where it's going to be in probably 2 years. Really what we're selling right now is at about 600 to 900 megahertz. And it really is a bonded 4G, 5G technology by the carriers, right? Um, the 5G mid-band. Now, if I want to put a W2005 Cradlepoint on a sled mounted on the top of a building, that's what I have at my network operations center in Boston. And that's where I'm getting that 200 down, 140 meg up, right? But we're not selling a lot of that. And the millimeter high wave, high band, ultra fast, that's probably 2 years away. It really isn't.
Hmm.
And from our perspective, our data plans are priced the exact same way for 4G versus 5G. The only thing that changes is really the cost of the cradle point that we use to facilitate the network. A 5G device is just going to be a little bit more expensive than a 4G device. That's all.
Right.
That's it.
Then
So
that makes sense. Yep.
So from a 4G, 5G, I mean, we can do anything for your customer. I tell most of my partners that it's really about our flexibility, right? It's about what we do. I'm about to close a large opportunity with a company called Revel XP. And one of the benefits that they see with working with For2Fi, and they have all these tailgate tents at all these NFL games and college football games, and we went to a college football tailgate party down in Atlanta last year. We were one of the sponsors. We couldn't watch that TCU Kansas State football game because it impacted the Final Four in the college playoffs because DirecTV didn't have that. They had lost their contract, right? So we fired up my Cradlepoint. We were able to use YouTube TV and we were able to get that game on YouTube TV. Well, come to find out, they were like, well, why aren't we doing this at all of our events? So the bottom line is that we have that flexibility with your customers. We're very responsive. My ownership group has made it very important, made it very clear to me and my sales team how important responsiveness is and how important it is to get quotes back over to you guys, because when you guys are asking for something, you're not asking just one company, and whoever gets you that quote first, they're going to have a leg up on it. So I'll let the 4G, 5G rest right there.
Right. This is a very interesting slide you have up right now. I want to kind of go into the security piece a little bit.
Yeah, physical security as a service. So about a year and a half ago, we went out to San Diego and we met with Verkada. And I don't know if you've heard of Verkada, but
Mm-hmm.
the ownership group of Verkada used to own Meraki, and they sold it off to Cisco, and they built Verkada. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to build a physical security as a service in the channel where we could help partners provide video security, access control, air quality sensors, alarms, and in-building sensors to their customers, right? Because we're finding out every single day how many customers are actually looking for this stuff, right? And then the neat part about this is that the way we built out the whole physical security as a service, right? We take the opportunity that you, the partner, brings to us, and we have a discovery call with the customer. We find out how many cameras, what they're looking for, and then we're going to provide that equipment pricing right away for you. And then when they say, okay, well, this fits our budget, then we'll do a site survey for the installation piece of this. Now, the cool thing about Verkada cameras is that they're solid state memory. So all the data is stored either in the cloud or on the camera, right? There's no need for a VDR, DVR, no port forwarding. Allows the customer that ability to monitor their cameras from anywhere. Now, one of the reasons I'm at this event is because my significant other actually put physical security as a service on that building behind me. I I introduced it to her and her board of directors, and they were like, Well, we have this building that sits out here in the middle of nowhere, and we don't have any video surveillance on it. And we have staff members that are in here, Friday afternoon, and literally people could just come walking in here, right? So this building now has access control on it. All doors have card swipe access control. They have Bluetooth access control, and they have video surveillance. So
we do have a chat question for you about whether or not the physical security as a service has tracking capabilities. I'm wondering if we're, tracking or maybe a GPS, or I'm not sure what we mean by tracking, but do you have tracking capabilities?
So to answer that, physical security as a service is a product that doesn't have tracking. It does. Let me rephrase this. So we can take a image that's been captured on a camera. Let's say that they take a picture of me when I walk in. They can now go back into the archives and find out every single time I've walked into that building. They can take a picture of a license plate that has went by in front of the building, and they can track every single time that license plate drove through the parking. Now, we do have asset tracking through a different product set called Samsara, right? Where we can do GPS tracking, we can do in-vehicle cameras, we can do all sorts of products like that, right? So that's just in another product set that we have.
That's still part of For2Fi, but it's a different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just a different product that we're able to do.
Well, as you're talking here, one of the things in the energy sector is that with the job trailers, there's a lot of technology located in that job trailer. So the ability to apply remote security to that environment is a big deal. And I would also imagine that in that world of high value assets, equipment and stuff, that mobile tracking is probably an interesting piece to those types of individuals.
Yeah, I'd be rather interested to know that, or I'd be actually probably a little surprised if they didn't already have it.
Yeah, well, I actually, just to show how it's come to Main Street, I just bought an enclosed trailer and that had a fleet tracking GPS unit in it. The gentleman I purchased it from had 3 previous trailers stolen in Las Vegas, so he put real-time tracking on that unit. So yeah, it is something that's out there now, and it's prevalent. So. But I think it's interesting because if you had that with this physical service and that thing, I mean, it's kind of consolidated out of one provider. Then it's not, kind of fractured all over the place, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, we have several partners actually out there that are working with ultra lightweight trailer manufacturers to actually put Cradlepoints and SIM cards in.
Mm-hmm.
So the really benefit of our FISAS product is the fact that we take and amortize the cost of the equipment over a 36-month agreement for your customer. So in many cases, when a customer needs 25, 30 cameras, they need 7 doors that need access control. The majority of those opportunities are like $150,000 to $175,000 worth of CapEx outlay up front to buy that hardware. And listen, they can go directly to Verkada and buy everything we do. The challenge they're going to have is that they're not going to have the engineering, they're not going to have the support, they're not going to have the installation all built in for them. They're not going to have the back end monitoring of their cameras. We monitor every single camera out there, right? So the customer knows when a camera goes down, we notify them of it, right? So we amortize the cost of that equipment over 36 months. And then they pay the installation piece up front. You as a partner continue to get paid on that for 36 months. At the end of the 3 years, the cost of their equipment falls off their agreement. The only thing they pay for is license renewal and monitoring of the cameras. So at the end of you could literally get paid on an opportunity for multiple years. All the Verkada stuff comes with a 10-year contract. So, and then here's the real kicker to that. if they have a camera that breaks year 9, Verkada's going to replace that camera. We're going to send a truck roll out there to install that camera at no cost.
Well, it is interesting. Before we kind of run out of runway here, was there more to the security piece, like the alarm? Is there an alarm piece with the security end of it that you had, or
Yeah, absolutely. So we
if we
do
could maybe touch
24.
on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can add alarm licensing to all their cameras. It can either be incorporated with the cameras, it can be integrated with the cameras. It is 24/7 professional alarm monitoring for intrusion detection. Um, we have 3 fully redundant US based central monitoring stations across the country, one in upstate New York, one in California, and one in Texas. Um, so it's top-notch alarm monitoring. We set up the alerts on the alarm monitoring any way the customer wants. Now, most customers want it to go 911 and then to them, right? You see something, call the police and then let me know, right? So we can put glass break sensors out there. We can put door jam sensors out there. Really just depends on what the customer requires and desires.
Right. Cool. Well, we have probably 5-10 minutes left. Is there anything? Well, first of all, does anybody else have any questions for Rick before I monopolize the time again?
Well, I'd like to, if we got a few seconds,
Yeah,
we
go ahead.
do have a couple other products.
Yep.
We have an analog replacement solution, and I don't know how many of you guys out there. I just spent 2 weeks on the road. I was at a partner in Florida who actually I took a picture of it, but I can't show it to you. Of an AT&T bill for one POTS line, and it was $1,082 for one POTS line. I've heard about $600 to $800 per POTS line, right? So we do an analog replacement utilizing an LTE Cradlepoint router, a 4 or 8 port analog terminal adapter, a 12-hour battery backup, and a 66 block with virtual SIP trunking. And really, for example, a four lines coming out of a business in our world is $240. In AT&T's world, it could be as much as $1,500-$1,700, right? So I don't know if you guys are seeing any scenarios where you're having customers go, hey, wait a minute, I'm paying $400 for 2 POTS lines or $300 for 2 POTS lines, whatever the number is. All of our analog replacement solutions are FCC approved, UL listed and approved, and it's all powered through Mach Networks, which is we white label Mach Networks.
So with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the applications I see for this is fire alarm and elevator control panels, because typically those are POTS, and it's sometimes a challenge to get that converted over. Would this be something that you would use to get away from that POTS?
Yep, absolutely, 100%, 100%. This
Wow,
solution,
that's interesting.
This solution will support any line type, whether it's alarms, fax, modems, voice, doesn't really matter to us. Has no bearing to us. We tried to build our own solution. We went out and bought all these batteries during COVID and all these ATAs. And I'll be honest with you, the biggest challenge is the alarm, is the fire codes and the alarm codes, right? Because they all are different. They all are different. And so we were like, we don't have time. I mean, we have a core business. We don't have time to try to research all these different fire codes.
Right.
So we went to Mach Networks, who isn't in the channel. So we knew we weren't going to compete with them, right? And we said, hey, listen, we'd like to resell your product. Made a whole lot more sense for us.
Right.
We do on-site site survey and on-site install. It's $500. It's 2 truck rolls. We roll a truck out to do a site survey. It's $250. We roll a truck out to install it. It's $500. I mean, it's $250. So it's $500 total, but they get professional on-site install, and my techs don't leave until it's up and running.
Right. Interesting. All right. What other items do you have to
So I just want to touch a little bit. We have For2Fi Connected Solutions. It's really our managed IoT, right? Anywhere, I mean, we can look right here under transportation, GPS mapping, driver logs, engine diagnostics, asset tracking. We do environmental oxygen sensors, fertilizer levels. Smart buildings is becoming huge, right? Lead HVAC and power monitoring, smart communities. That's really on the rise in the southern part of the United States. And then restaurant, right? Like how many times have we heard about, the deal with Subway that had some bad tuna because some 15-year-old didn't monitor the temperature of the tuna. Well, if we had a sensor in that tuna, that sensor would automatically tell the owner of the company, hey, your tuna is bad. And the neat part about it is they can go back and pull data. If they get into a litigation, they can go back into the portal, and they can pull the data from that day and say, well, I'm not sure how my tuna was bad because here's the temperature sensors on my tuna the days that you're claiming that you got food poisoning from this, right? So this is just another product. We tell partners all the time that if you come up with an IoT project, just reach out to us. Most of these projects are really built around the business manager. These are not really IoT projects, or they're not the IT team's project. They're a business manager trying to solve a problem, right?
Very
And
interesting. So are these your sensors proprietary? Or are they like an AvTech sensor?
no,
What?
no. They're manufacturer sensors that we just have access
Okay.
to,
Right.
and then we build them out and monitor them and manage them.
Yeah, well, and the magic isn't necessarily in the sensor. The magic is in what you do with it. So yeah, very interesting
Yep,
applications here.
yep, absolutely. And that's really the end of my slide deck. I can send this over to Piper and you
Yeah.
can distribute it if you want. Um,
Yeah. I think I have 3 customers that I already want to talk about this stuff with, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And listen, we appreciate it. I apologize for my tardiness on getting on the call. I'd like to thank Piper for giving me a jingle and calling me and reminding me. And I'll just close with that.
Yep. And does anybody have any questions for Rick? Hearing none, what I'll add is if anyone has interest or wants to hear more or get more down into the weeds, let us know and we'll facilitate a conversation and connect you with Rick, and we'll work through it together. But like I said, Rick, I have 3 customers that I'm going to talk to about this already. So very interesting stuff.
All righty. Listen,
All right.
you guys know how to get a hold of me, and I appreciate the time today.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Rick. For
Before
the
All right,
rest of
bye.
you.
Before
Bye,
we
Rick.
meet any of
Oh.
our attendees, could we do a
Yep.
wheel spin?
Yeah, attendees don't leave yet. We have the wheel of death and fortune to
Fun
do
and
for
adventure.
happiness and unicorn thoughts that we're going to
Mhm.
spin and see who wins their choice of either what is it, a Subway sandwich or an Amazon gift card.
Amazon gift card this time. And
Oh,
then
is it an Amazon gift card this time? All right.
and
We're
then they
doing
will be
Amazon
sent out today.
Amazon
All right.
gift card.
Here we go.
It's a sad color choice, by the way, Piper.
Well, I'm just going with what it gives me. Oh.
Oh. So the mysterious, is it May Austin or Austin May?
I am unsure, but let me see. Normally I'm able to get emails off of just who's attending, but I'm having troubles today. So unless we get a little bit of a response, we can always spin again too. Otherwise I can double check through my Zoom and go through people who are attending and hand it out that way.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Alrighty.
And we'll go from there. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, like we said, if there's any interest in that technology, let us know and we will hook you up with Rick and have a conversation.
Awesome. And I did get
All
that
right.
email, so we are good to go.
Okay, very good. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of the week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.